As you heard from me a few minutes back, we do the full circle. We do everything. And that is a little bit unique in that when it comes to home care, typically there are different pieces and you need to get something from here, something from there. It's not so user friendly typically. And when I came to the country, exactly 17, almost 17 years ago, um, when I realized that there are the two different options, both non-medical and medical, it was just my wish and my um, dream to try and make it as easy as possible for that journey. And I'd come from, although you can hear my British accent, I'd come from Israel, which is where I'd spent 21 years. And as an aide, grew with the same agency and became the director of what was the largest home care office in the country. We had grown through an acquisition of one other office in Jerusalem. And I came here with quite a lot of experience, both personally taking care of the elderly and then managing a very large group. We had 1,200 clients within that same one office in Jerusalem. So when I came here and discovered that there are two separate parts to it, I decided that I'm going to try and make it happen, which was a very long journey. It took about 3 years to get the license for the medical side. It's pretty much like setting up a hospital. It's the whole government licenseship, which is such a difficult hurdle to get through, which is why so many others just refrain from joining in. But then finally, when I got through it with determination, I've really enjoyed the ability to be able to provide the full service. So if someone is coming out of the hospital, they may go to a rehab center where they get perhaps 2 or 3 weeks of intense physical therapy. And then when they plateau with whatever goals have been achieved, Medicare that pays for that stay, just like they did in the hospital, Medicare will then continue to pay for the home care piece that I provide. So it's a continuum, hospital, rehab, and then home care that I'm able to provide on that last stage. And we work in unison with the hospital and with the rehab because Medicare, being that payer for all three, wants to make sure that that individual gets better and stays out of hospital. We don't want any revolving doors here in order to save money for Medicare. Going back into hospital after a fall or something that could maybe set things back will cost the government that much more. So it's very tightly regulated to make sure that the communication between the hospital, the rehab center, and the home care agency are all playing, singing in unison in order to be aware of what they need to be looking out for to help that individual get back on their feet, so to speak. The same will apply with us, that as soon as it plateaus and we're not really able to achieve further goals, because when the goal is achieved, as we all know, the goal then moves to the next. We never reach it and that's that. With whatever we do, if we're striving whatever business and whatever personal life we're dealing with, the goal will always move forward to the next step. But with the rehab piece, once it plateaus and we're not really able to go any further, we pull out on that medical side. And that's where my non-medical piece sets in. So it could be that the individual is back up, no need for any more help. We're back on the tennis courts 3 times a week, and that's that. Or there may be some help needed, and it's typically the case for a period of time with a caregiver that comes in to give the specific support that they need. So we're not taking over on anything that they could be doing themselves, because obviously that's part of the rehab. We would like the individual to get better, and we then pull out, and all is well. But if they need, we can help with anything on the non-medical side. I mentioned before in my 30-second that it would be more on the companion or cleaning, but it does also include the personal care. In other words, bathing, dressing, if for a period of time or ongoing, the individual needs that support, we provide on the non-medical side, privately paid, an aide, a caregiver, in order to support the specific needs. So as you've heard in the past, many of you, I personally will come to the home, assess specific needs that are needed, and then with a team member typically try and match the best individual, not only for the personality and the energy, communication skills, but also that the skill set is really met. Someone that can handle whatever it might be. In some cases, it's maybe 3 times a week to come in to help. It could be just that an extra eye to make sure that we're not going to trip over items that could be barriers. Most accidents, as I've mentioned in the past, actually happen within our home, even though we're most familiar. Somehow we put a little bit more effort. If you imagine walking out there and it's a little icy, we're really careful when it comes to an unknown area. But at home, we're so familiar, real quick, we didn't really pay much attention. We've walked past here so many times, nothing's gonna happen. And unfortunately, it can. So a 3 times a week visit might just clear up that pathway, help with that personal care. Companionship is very important. So the outside world, someone that makes us feel connected, it all helps with healing and feeling, self-worth, etc. So when it comes to both the medical and the non-medical, it's the whole idea is to really to zone in and help with what it is that individual needs. And of course, in every home, it's different. Sometimes the patient, so to speak, isn't really the patient. It could be the family member that's really worried and needs that support. It could be helping the spouse as opposed to really helping that individual. So, I guess there's a lot of psychology involved here that when we come into a home with an open mind, really assess what's going on and do our very best to assist that individual for their needs and not try and push on to them something that they don't want. That doesn't lead anywhere, obviously. As you may know, many of you, there have been many occasions that people needed equipment. Well, there are individuals that don't need their own equipment anymore, and we will take their equipment typically and be able to recycle it and help someone for free to be able to attain whatever they need in order to avoid having to go to the local supply house and buy new products, which would only be needed for a few weeks. And if they're maintained and cleaned, then why not reuse product from elsewhere? There are occasions that people reach out to me, and you will remember, you've heard this before, that it could be in a different territory that someone needs support. I'm really happy and enjoy calling someone from out of state. It could be anywhere, and just schmooze with a few words to the director, to the owner, after having checked out online that I can sort of feel that this is a reputable agency, and just warm up connections so that when someone who's at this time in a little bit of a crisis and needs support, they can just call, speak to Julie. Julie is expecting the call, and make that sort of first connection a little easier rather than more or less a cold call for someone who's in a—
1 minute, Daniel, 1 minute.
Thank you very much. So my aim is to sort of, again, zone into what the specific individual needs. I am very hands-on involved, so the end product of the individuals that I hire, they're the people that I really know. I'm involved. So by going to people's homes, by visiting regularly, I'm involved with my caregivers. So they're accountable, they feel appreciated, all of which brings success. Thank you for listening, and I'll be really happy to either now if there is time, or at a later stage answer any specific questions that anyone may have. Thank you.